Hello and welcome to Dreams of Wings, and welcome here to Hollywood Burbank Airport. Used to be known as Bob Hope Airport, I believe. We're here for something special, and a huge thank you to Flying Fries for giving me the opportunity to fly their upcoming new aircraft, it's the Hughes XF-11. Very interesting aeroplane, absolutely bonkers, 6,000 horsepower. Only Howard Hughes could build something like this. It's an aircraft that never actually really saw service, was beset with all sorts of problems and issues, and I'm not going to go into them here, but well worth reading up on those. But essentially what started off as an idea for a multi-role wooden aircraft wasn't really of any interest to the Army Air Force. They preferred something made of metal for a start. So in the end, Hughes relented, and we had a metal construction and an aircraft that had a more defined role, really, as a high-speed, high-altitude, long-range aeroplane. And this is where this beauty comes in. Absolutely bonkers. This aircraft actually nearly killed Hughes. Again, I won't go into that here, but definitely worth reading up on its first test flight out of Culver City, which is where the Hughes airfield was based. We're going to be overflying that today, or the area that it used to be in. On that first maiden flight, he, of course, pushed the boundaries. He was that kind of guy. And it crashed. Had a hydraulic leak, I believe, in one of the propellers. He wasn't really meant to be doing the kind of flying that he decided to do. He's meant to be staying close to the airfield, keeping the undercarriage down, that kind of thing. But Hughes being Hughes, he went off and did his adventurous stuff, and he's very lucky he survived, really. Let's hope we have better luck today. No crashes, thank you very much. As I said, we're going to be taking off, going down to Culver City, and then we'll tootle along and see what she can do. So also just bear in mind that this is a preview version, so things might change, things might be improved, things might not be there. It's pre-release, so it's not necessarily going to be the final version that comes out initially in flightsim.to. And I'll put a link to Flying Fries' website down below so you can take a look at that. Anyway, let's jump on board. Let's go flying. Right, well, here we go. We are going to follow in Howard Hughes' footsteps, and we are going to come up through the hatch, because that's the best way to do it. We've even got a photo of the man himself just over here. Let me just get out of the reflection. There we go. There he is, just as we've climbed in, and he's almost looking at us as if to say, "Get out of my plane." So we can we've got the ground power unit here plugged in. We've got our fuel valves, and over here we've got our tank pressurization tanks, so we can see all those bits and pieces here. What I will do now actually is I'm actually going to unplug the GPU. That closes that. Let's now go up into the body of the aeroplane. There we go. So this is the nav stroke wireless operator stroke sneaky beaky person's position. That's where they would sit. We've got an instrument here which I presume is used for navigation, for taking bearings, but you can move it around and do things. If we were in a submarine, I'd say it's a periscope, so I'm guessing it's an underslung kind of jobby. Over here we have a map, which is always very useful to carry. We also have emergency provisions, which is rather cool. Du pain et du vin. That's enough of my French now, thank you. We've got some nav instruments here, which a nav would find very useful, and we've got a tape here. We can pop on even our headphones, and we can listen to what they're saying down below as we tune in on our radio. I've already switched these bits on when I was playing with it just before, but their normal default state would be that. I'm not sure what functionality, if any, there's going to be in the final release, but you can even play it and you can fiddle with these switches here, which is quite something. Anyway, right, so that's where we are in the back. Let's have a look down here now. Look at that. I don't think I'm worthy enough to wear it, but I'm going to put on Howard Hughes' hat. Good God. Right, let's just sort things out down here. So let's get rid of the ladder. And then if I can just get to that click spot, there we go. Close the hatch. And let's close that hatch. And then let's have a look here. So we've got our circuit breakers, which do seem to work. So if you're looking for failures, that's probably a good way of doing it. And I wonder if they're going to pop. We've got the axe here. It has got a click spot. It's not doing anything at the moment, which is probably just as well. I don't want to be running around in an aircraft that I've hardly flown wielding an axe. We've got our aircraft pressurization instruments and our recognition lights. Now, interesting. I wonder if that's persistent. I don't remember those being on before, but maybe because I left them on in the previous flight. I don't know. Right, so that's down there. Let's wing it round here. No, let's go down here. So the poor old nav stroke sneaky beaky would have had to have come down here through this very narrow fuselage and had a cup of coffee, branded of course, Flying Fries. We've got some electrics there, and then over here, what do we got here? See you at FS Expo Tropicana, Las Vegas, June 21st to 23rd, 2024. I wish, but obviously Lord Freets, who is the chap behind all this, will be there. We've got somewhere to put our bits and pieces. And then up here is where old Nav would have had to have come and had a look out the front here and had a good view, used the photography equipment and all that sort of thing. But yeah, not much space. You imagine doing that for a long time. Okay, let's come back. And then I'm going to reset my position here. There we go. So we have a clipboard. A lot of aircraft now have EFBs, and this is the version of EFB, so we can see here what our fuel state is. We can attach drop tanks. We can call the fuel truck if we want to. Let's have a look and see what that does actually. I have actually filled up with fuel already, so I don't know if we're actually going to get a model of a fuel truck coming, but I'll keep my logos open just in case. I suspect that might be a way of just loading up the fuel. Maybe. Let's have a quick look over here. Yeah, no, I think it's just a way of fueling up. So let's forget that. We don't want to worry about that. We have failures, so we can see what our current failures are, or if we are really feeling that we want to give ourselves a tough flight, we can actually instigate some failures through there. What else have we got? We can equip the Garmin. I haven't got the PMS GTN 750. I've got the TDN GTN XI 750. So I haven't got the option on mine, but we can have a GNS 530 if we want to. And we can have random failures as well. We can select when they occur. As this is my second flight, I'm not going to be quite so brave, but I just don't want to jinx it. But we can have those in there as well. Parking and engines off, required to fix failures. That kind of makes sense. Advanced visual effects, we've got that. We want all the advanced visual effects, please. And we've got vibration set to high. We'll see that when we get going. And we can even change our airspeed units here, whether we want miles an hour or knots. And then quite handily, we've got our reference speeds here, which is quite useful to have just in case. Right, and in fact I'll leave it on that page because it's always good to have a look at. So I think, as I've alluded to, I've only done one flight in this. I did a quick test flight in it yesterday just to make sure that all my controls were working nicely with it. And what I did find was that it was an interesting beast to land. But we'll see more of that as we go up. Anyway, this is our kind of standard controls. It's not a hugely complicated aeroplane, really, which is quite good. But you can kind of see, if I zoom in, a lot of it kind of makes sense. It's quite intuitive. What have we got? We've got our fuel tank selectors. We've got our fuel pumps. Down here we've got our mags. Down here we've got primer. Here we've got starters. And then we've got trim, and then we've got all sorts of other switches as well. We've got an autopilot panel here. We've got these really are buttons relating to the sim, so we can, for example, now we can get rid of our chocks, we can take out our covers, and we've already pulled the ladder up, so that's all there. Icing is here, we've got lights here, we've got exterior lights, interior lights, throttle, prop, oh no, prop's down there, and we've got mixture there. This aircraft does have a form of reverse thrust as well. If I just use my throttle, there we go. You can see that. We'll use that. Don't expect it to be like a modern turboprop though. It's not quite the same. It's a much more subtle effect than that. And then we've just got our standard kind of panel, which again is all, if you're used to props, there's nothing here that really is going to come as a surprise to you. Certainly nothing unusual. One of the wonderful things about this I found from the first flight is that you don't have to learn a huge amount in terms of switches and systems and all that sort of thing. It's a very easy aircraft to get into and just fly instead of spending a huge amount of time messing about. Down here we've got a QR code. If you can scan that and it will come up with a quick use guide, which is kind of handy. Right, so that really is a very quick kind of run through. Oh, it has we can use the checklist. Let me just bring up flow. I must admit I don't use checklists. I don't use the in-sim checklist, I should say. I tend to use printed checklists and things like that. So I don't even know if I've got a checklist button set up for it, but there is an in-sim checklist if you want to follow that, but I'm not going to be using that. I tend to find the in-sim ones, as much as they're useful, a bit of an immersion killer. It's another thing on screen that isn't the aeroplane in the world around it, so that's just me being daft. Right, well, as you saw just there, the fuel truck was actually called. So let's dismiss the fuel truck. Thank you very much, old chap. And right, let's get started up. So we want battery on. We'll get the nav lights on, just so that people can see that we're about to start doing something. Fuel selectors, we want left engine left. We want right engine right. We want left feed tail, and we want right feed tail. We're not using drop tanks, and we want the center tank closed. We're going to be using that. We want the left and the right fuel pumps on. We are going to have both mags, and that's all looking good. We have got prop fully forward, mixture rich, and engines idle. We're going to prime left engine for 2 seconds. 1, 2, and let's fire up. Okay, we have a good start. Everything's looking good there. Let's do the same with engine number 2. There we go. That's all good. I think we'll open the. Oh, can I get to? There we go. Just open up the cowl flaps just to keep the engines cool while we're faffing about on the ground. Okay, so that's all good. That's absolutely fine. Let's have a look down here now and see if we've missed anything. Alternators, we want those on. And let me just lock off the, there we go, I've just locked off the head tracking for a moment so I can have a look. Avionics on. That's all good. And what else am I looking for? Generators. Generators, generators, generators. Wherefore art thou? Generators. Okay, I had to do a quick double check there. Just looking at the quick checklist here, it says generators, but actually on here it says alternators, so that's what that was all about. So that's actually all set up, all ready to go. Right, let's get rid of you. Let's just have a quick look there. Yep, all the circuit breakers are in. Let's check. All are. You see? Oh, yep, just saw something there. There we go. It's ailerons in this are interesting. It's see if we can jump from the outside. Let's get a good view. So if I move the ailerons, you can see that we've got these very, very small, tiny ailerons here in the wing tips, but a lot of the roll control is actually coming from these, I mean, what's effectively spoilers as well. So it's a slightly different way of doing it. And this great big long thing here is the flap. So you can kind of see how that configuration is working. I just realised I haven't put the pilots on. Let's jump inside. Let's have a look here. We can now put pilot visibility, co-pilot visibility on, and let's have a look. There we go. Just in the back here for our sneaky beaky, I've got one of the Got Friends Avatar Valor figures. I thought that was quite fitting, really. And he's got headphones on, so he doesn't have to listen to me talking. Right. Okay. Let's get this bird into the air. So, quick look around. I've done so much waffling. I need to make sure that I've got everything set up. Let's have the taxi lights on. Don't need to worry about interior lights at the moment. I need to remember that I've got the cowl flaps open. Everything is looking good there. Everything is in place. Utility door and access door should and are closed. Just fine. Let's have the pitot heat on. Always good to have that on. And we don't need to worry about any other anti-icing or anything at the moment. Right, let's have a look at little nav map. So wind is 1 knot from 258, so it's absolutely nothing. So we can take runway 26, which is fine by me. So let's do some taxiing. Move the parking brake. Quick check around. I haven't got multiplayer on, or at least I don't think I have. So we shouldn't run into any issues with that. Something I noticed yesterday, she's very easy to taxi. No problems there at all. Gorgeous day, isn't it? Should be really nice. Just trying to keep in my mind the enormous size of this aeroplane. Let's just zip across the runway. As I say, pretty sure I've not got multiplayer on, but don't want to ruin someone's flight by getting in the way. Now, the thing that I noticed yesterday when I flew was the incredible power. It almost feels like a jet, which we'll see on the takeoff roll. And I guess that's what such a light aircraft, as I said, it's almost, but not quite the size of a B-17. But it's incredibly light. And it almost begs the question, had it actually ended up being made of wood, as Howard Hughes had intended, just what the performance would have been like. We don't need the full extent of the runway, but why the hell not? This is a test flight in a prototype. Just resetting my head tracking there. Right, let's take the runway. There we go. By the way, if you're wondering why my pilot avatar is that one, it's the closest thing I could find to Howard Hughes flying in his shirt and tie. Right, let's have the strobes and the landing lights on. Should have done that before we entered the active runway, you silly boy. Okay, here we go. Are you ready for this rocket ship? So I'm just holding the brakes, applying some power. And release. Look at that. Gear up. Just reset the tracking a little there. Look at that performance, like a rocket ship. Let's come back now, calm everything down, come back on the throttle and the RPM. Absolutely amazing. Really is incredible performance. How high we've climbed. Now you can see why this was designated for photo reconnaissance. Absolutely amazing. Let's, while we remember, put the pressurization on. We haven't quite got there yet, but we will do. There's Los Angeles down there. Quick look at our T's and P's. Checking the RPM. There's no manual at the moment for this, so you may well find that when you get your copy and you have a manual, that it gives some specific settings for this sort of thing, but and it could even be in the checklist, in the drop-down checklist for crews. But I'm gonna kind of do what feels right at the moment. So we're going to come over Culver City, which is down there. So just passing over Culver City there. We'll head on down now to Long Beach. Really is an impressive aircraft. Performance is amazing. Let's close the. No, we've gone the wrong way there. Let's open up even more. There we go. So we're doing, well, ground speed at the moment is 290 knots. We are using quite conservative power settings at the moment. Getting quite a few pauses in the sim as we're flying over LA. That's always one of the downsides of flying in the sim in these areas. You get these funny little stutters and pauses every now and again just because of the sheer weight of the scenery down there. Not much we can do about that. Right, how is everything looking? T's and P's are good. Oil pressure there looks a little low. Just a little low. Maybe that's within normal limits. Over Long Beach now. I'm just going to dip the nose a little bit, and then we can come round and actually have a look at it. Just come back on the power. Something that I also noticed on this from last night is it seems to have quite a high drag factor. Nasty pause there. Yeah, it seems to have quite a high drag factor, so it slows down quite quickly, which can be quite useful. Of course, I've no idea how the real aircraft behaved. There we go. There's Long Beach. And also, of course, because of the size of this thing, and it's one of the reasons why originally when Hughes was considering using it as multi-role, it wouldn't be much use as a fighter because it's not really highly manoeuvrable. It really is ideal for the photo reconnaissance role. It can fly faster than the P-51. It can fly ridiculously high. And it's got long range on it as well. There's LA spread out over there. Okay, right. So let's have a look and see how everything's behaving. Looks good to me. I think we can probably increase the power a little bit. So let's increase the RPM ever so slightly. Give it some more beans. Climb again. So how quickly we've come up on the mountains now. Just amazing. How are we doing down here? Everything looking good. Quick check that we are pressurizing. That's good. leaning out as well, very important. As we get into the higher climbs. That climbing power is just incredible. Need to lean out some more. Something you've really got to keep on top of with this aeroplane, actually. Just looking down at the EGT, using that as our reference. So what's that? We're just about to pass through 18,000 feet. I'm sure I read that the ceiling on this is something like 40,000 feet, but we're not going to be going quite as high as that. Not on this flight. There we go, 20,000 feet. I think we will level off here. And we will just have a quick look at the autopilot. So we have got a heading hold, and we've got a pitch hold. We're going to put the alt hold in as well. There we go, and let's see what it does. Something that I noticed yesterday, and it looks like it's doing it a little bit today. Oh yeah, let's just set the heading properly, which is what we should have done. There we go. So we're looking for there we go, round about there. What was I going to say? Yes, depending on the weather, depending on the wind that you've got, you see how the nose is just bobbing up and down ever so slightly there. That's a kind of it's really an asobo thing. The developer tells me you might find it, might not see it. But it might be something that you see depending on the conditions. That if you use the autopilot and you use the alt hold mode, then the nose will bob up and down a little bit. So also down there you've got the alt hold, you've got the pitch hold, and you've got the bank hold as well. Okay, so here we are. Let's turn the autopilot off now. Look down at everything. Everything seems to be working fine. Ground speed is 348 knots. All the horses. There's Edwards Air Force Base down there. Tiny from up here, but that's it. I'm sure they won't mind us flying over their yes, they probably will mind us flying over their airspace in a sneaky beaky aeroplane. Look at the detail on the ground. This sim is amazing for ground detail, so realistic. I don't often fly over this way, and it's when I do a flight like this that I think I should do. This change of scenery is just incredible. That down there is Mojave. But what we're going to do is we are going to almost come back on ourselves and land at Palmdale. So we can afford to lose some height now. So let's come back on the power. And gently come round. Of course, one of the things that is difficult to get across in the video is how an aircraft handles. It's not a fighter. You can feel the sides of the aeroplane. Probably the slightly different way that the aircraft is actually handled in the roll, with those tiny little ailerons and then the spoilers, kind of gives you an idea of it's not going to snap roll. I wouldn't even want to try and do aerobatics in it. It's not designed for that purpose, of course. Let's be sensible. But in terms of cruise, in terms of takeoff, in terms of taxiing, very easy aircraft to fly. The landing that I did yesterday, one of the things that surprised me was the drag. I.e., when you come off of the power, it really does start to slow up and also sink very quickly. So that's just something I need to try and remind myself that I need to be aware of. It was quite remarkable how all of a sudden you feel you're going too fast, so you come off on the power and suddenly you're sinking and you're slowing up quite a bit. So I shall remember that. Just keep a nice descent in. How's everything looking? All is good. This would be a very interesting aircraft, because I was just thinking to myself, what would I use it for? This would be a very interesting aircraft to do a long distance, I was going to say scenic flight, but like a long distance. I'm going to say it. The thought popped into my head that this would be really interesting to do a circumnavigation of the globe flight in, because you've got the speed, you've got the range, so your legs could be long and you could get there reasonably fast. It's an interesting aircraft to fly. It's not just a case of like an airliner, look at the computer, stick it on the autopilot. I think that could be quite interesting. I'd love to know your thoughts, actually. What would you use it for? Stick it in the comments below, or come over onto the Discord. I'll put a link to the Discord in the show notes below as well. Always welcome to come along. Great bunch of people there. The Discord is actually much less about the YouTube channel and more about a bunch of people that love aeroplanes and helicopters and talking about them, and there's even a photographic section now. There's a model making section if you're into building models. Just recently opened up the station library, which is if you've read a good aviation book, or any book for that matter, you can whack it in there and let people know. But it's just a really good community, good banter, some really clever people there. There's a community help section if you've ever got any questions about simming, you can put those in there. But yeah, really good fun. So I'll put the link below, and we'll see you there. Right, how are we doing? Everything's looking okay. It's interesting how the oil pressure is so low. Fuel pressure is absolutely fine. Fuel flow is good. Oil temperature is looking alright, but oil pressure is quite low. Which is interesting. Okay. Coming back on the power. Just a little bit. We're probably going to be a little bit too high. I haven't... not visual with... what's the wind doing yet? It's still there. Not visual with Palmdale yet, but I know it's over there. Just where those... irrigated, I was going to say irrigated crop circles, but you know what I mean. Oh, I can just see that flashing there. Right, let's come over here a bit. Keep the descent in. See how I've powered off, but you see the speed has come off quite a bit. Right, let's dangle the Dunlops. And let's see what we can see. That's all our temperatures. All looking fine. Now I must remember, there's the runway. I was just going to say it hasn't got a great roll rate, so let's dangle some flap. I might have cut this a bit fine. I might have to go around, but we'll see. Nice narrow little runway, just what you want with a big aeroplane. It's really on approach that you just start to feel the effect of the lack of roll. I guess people who are used to flying tube liners will be more at home with it from that point of view. Right, that's flap is all out. A little bit of oscillation in pitch there. Looking at the speed, let's not get too slow. Prop fully forward, mixture fully rich. Say these pauses are doing my head in today. Does oscillate in pitch quite a bit, as you can see. So I came back on the power a bit there, and that rate of descent was quite sharp. Oh, let's not drift too far. And we're down. Right, put it into reverse. It's a very subtle effect. There we go. And we are down. cowl flaps. Try and keep things cool. Raise the flaps. We can have landing lights off and strobes off. There we go. So I hope you enjoyed that flight. I hope you found it useful. Certainly a very easy aircraft to fly. The landing just takes a bit of getting used to if you're used to flying the sort of thing that I'm flying, but that doesn't make it difficult. It just means it's got different behaviour, and at the end of the day, that's what makes it interesting. If you've got an aeroplane that's got slightly different behaviour, it gives you something to learn and to master. Pointers and nose over here. There we go. And parking brake on. And let's come back and close down. Beautiful. Let's have the fuel pumps off. Alternators off. We don't need the lights on anymore. That's all off. That's all good. I've put the parking brake on. I've already checked that. And we can now have the pitot heat off and the battery off. There we go. So thank you for joining the flight. It has been great having you along. It's always nice to do something different. It's always nice to test fly something different. And it's been a gorgeous flight with this weather as well and the lighting. Hope you've enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing you on the channel again very soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.